can say this about season 4. It is going to be so worth the wait.
Nowhere, actually.
A wrecking machine. I'll take it.
I'm still figuring out my own style, Mark, actually.
It was great.
It took 2 minutes and I had to answer, yeah, go for it.
Are you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again. I can't refuse that twice.
In Holland, in one country.
Here is the YouTube.
She got me so deep and underwater and I drank it. That's not good.
You'll try chocolate from South Africa to Australia to England. It will taste so different.
So it's been really amazing that it's been with you after 10 long years.
The first title we were messing around with, we were going to call it Lockdown. Yeah. And then after a while, we actually kind of realised, God, this is dragging on a lot longer than what we thought it was going to be.
I didn't want to give people a reminder.
Our bass player has a band, and we were like, let's go on the road, man. But and then it just came to a screeching halt.
We had to work on like how I was biting the carrot. Like I had to do it very purposefully, you know? You didn't want a weak bite, but you didn't want a bite that was too strong.
Someone jumps the stage and one of our techs just body slams him to the ground and you can see me kick him.
I guess I was too distracted. I was having too much fun. Never a bad thing.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jonah. Hello.
Hello, Mark.
I'm walking away. I'm a diamond, baby. Whatever you say, I'm letting it go. I'm walking away with a smile on my face. 'Cause I'm not the same girl you used to know. No.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington, United States of America. Thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday, the 6th of May, 2021. My guest today is a longtime musical artist from Canada. She has produced records in many genres, from metal to jazz to blues to rock. And her new album, Radio On, exclamation point, is being released on July 23rd via Metalville Records. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio, Lee Aaron. Hi. Oh, let's see here. I think I just did something.
Muted my mic.
There we go. Sorry.
Hello. There we are. Awesome.
How are you?
I'm well, despite COVID and all the weirdness in the world, I'm doing okay.
You and I both. Yeah, it's just doing the best we can with what we got, I think, at this time.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, all this sort of virtual connection has been good because it certainly made it a lot more convenient for me to do interviews. I don't have to fly all over the world, right? But and it's funny because I did something earlier today with Carl, the guy from Brave Words, and it was just supposed to be audio, and I'm like, no, dude, let's click on the video link because I really want to see your face. I want to see who I'm talking to because, you know, I think we're just all anxious for more human connection right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I've told other people this that so doing virtual interviews for me, it was all new. You know, once the pandemic hit, that's when I started doing these. I had not done them prior, and it's been a really like a silver lining for me that I've been able to connect with people like yourself that I've been a long time fan of, and I haven't had a chance to see you play live. Maybe at some point you'll drop down to Seattle once we're past all this stuff and do a show on a weekend or something, but. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have a chance to meet some of these people because they would be doing shows or doing films and all that kind of stuff. And it's been, again, just like a little bit of a silver lining that I can connect with artists like yourself during this time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's amazing. I know it's been certainly easier to set up my interview days for the new album, right? When I'm just kind of like, you know, get a list and then I just have to like click on StreamYard links or Zoom or Skype and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, very, very different than I'm thinking about the first time I actually have it here. The first time that I bought this record.
Oh my gosh.
I I was back in junior high on a band trip up to Abbotsford, Canada. And I went to the mall and the record store, and that's where I bought that from because I saw an article in Kerrang about you at that time. So, yeah.
Famous Kerrang magazine, yes.
So if you had told me back then that in 2021 I would be doing a virtual interview with you, I would have been like, well, one, what's a virtual interview? And then two, what are you talking about? How's that going to happen? So this is truly a privilege and an honor for me today.
Oh, thank you. Well, hey, if you told me back then I'd still be making albums and touring when at this stage of my life, I would have probably gone, really? But, one of my great inspirations in the early part of my career and even throughout the 80s, who I had the pleasure of seeing live in Munich one time, was Tina Turner. And I mean, and I think at that time she was in her 40s, right? And I was like, man, if I can still be doing that at that age, I'll be happy. And here I am, So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's great, obviously, for us as fans that you're still making music and doing your career, because then we get to enjoy it that much more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's bizarre for me because I feel like I took a little bit of a hiatus in 2000 and about 2004 till Fire and Gasoline came out. But I started writing for Fire and Gasoline in 2015, so about a decade or so after our daughter was born, and then our son. And because all my creative energy was going into motherhood and being a parent. I feel kind of like I'm enjoying this new creative phase in my life and career right now. And I'm just more inspired than ever to keep making music and making new material. And it's funny because someone just asked me yesterday in an interview, they said, has becoming a parent and, getting married and, having more of a domestic life, has it tempered your, rock and roll spirit in terms of being able to have inspiration for songwriting? And it's like, in a weird way, because I care so much about the world that my children are growing up in, it's made me hyper aware. It's changed my worldview, number one, but it's made me hyper aware of the political climate and the environmental climate that my children are growing up in. And to be honest with you, it's made me angrier than ever. And it's given me lots of fodder for songwriting, right? So there you go.
You know what? And that makes perfect sense. A long time ago, I used to work as a teacher, and I've worked in community-based agencies as well, outside of doing this, obviously. And and I'm not a parent, but it does make you aware of what's going on around you, because if you do have any kind of empathy, in your case as a parent, you want to know what you're passing on to your children. And in my case, I had a guest say something really profound to me, is that all of us are fathers and mothers, whether you have kids or not, because that's what we're passing on to the next generation. So you should care.
Oh, absolutely. But I think absolutely. And we all are, they say it doesn't take an individual, it takes a village to raise a child, right? Because all of these people have influence over your young ones, right? And it's very weird as a parent, to be honest with you, to be growing up in the social media age, in an age where right now, honestly, like my son, if it wasn't for, virtual games and him connecting with his friends via headset, I don't think he'd have any friends right now in COVID. Like it's kind of a crazy time to be raising children, because my biggest goal, I don't know about you when you were young, was like, I want a phone jack in my room so I can have a phone and talk to my friends privately, so my parents can't hear my conversations when I was a teenager. But now it's like they have the world at their fingertips, right? In terms of information, and conversely, misinformation, which is a very scary thing, right? Because there's so much of it out there.
Yeah, very true. And like I've talked to other people, like I don't know what it's like to be a parent nowadays. Like you just said, with social media out there and having instant access to all kinds of things around the world. Like even if you had a question about a video game, you can go onto a search engine and just try to find out information about it instantly. Back in my day, then that wasn't possible. If you wanted to know about a band, then you either had to try to find a magazine or talk to your friend about it or something, and maybe you found out something. So now it's like I think that's also why we're seeing a generation they want everything now. They want everything even yesterday because they're just so used to having access to all of these things. And for the older generations, it's like, well, no, we remember when we had to work for things, or we had to be patient, or we had to kind of take our time because you didn't have that that ability.
Well, it's interesting because our son, and I haven't talked about this very much, but he's super high functioning autism. So he's kind of like in an Elon Musky kind of way. he's had certain obsessions throughout his life. Like when he was really little, it was Thomas the Tank Engine. And now that he's older, it's Green Day, the band. But I wanted to help him when he was little. And I went back to college and I got a degree in special education because I was spending so much of my time when he was young in the school assisting, and someone's like, you really should be getting paid for this. And I wanted to study the neuroscience, and I wanted to understand how multiple intelligences work. And getting back to what you were talking about, in the age of social media and young people connecting virtually and not so much in person. Believe it or not, because I did a study, and it was one of the first papers that I wrote in college. And I haven't really ever talked about this with anybody, but I'm talking to you about it. It was on the decline of empathy, because empathy, believe it or not, has declined at a rate of about 1% a year since the year 2000. So young people today are about 20% less empathetic than they were in the year 2000. And that is a direct result of the internet and connecting that way. And the reason for that is because when we connect in person as human to human, and you tell me a story about a friend of yours who got sick and passed away, and it really hurt you, and you cry. It's like, there's these things called mirror neurons in your brain, and they're firing like crazy. When I'm watching you and watching your face tell me this story, this is how we develop the roots of empathy, and we have since the beginning of man, right? My mirror neurons are firing, and because they're reading your mirror neurons, and I'm feeling what you're feeling. So a tear might come to your eye, and a tear might come to my eye because I'm feeling what you're feeling, right? But when people go, oh, I'm so sad, your mom died, sad face emoji, that's not happening anymore. And it's actually a real neurological and physiological problem that we could potentially be facing with these future generations unless we get back to human contact. It's crazy.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I loved hearing the science and educational piece behind that of what's happening with the generations. And like you said, 20 to 21%, then they're less empathetic now because of the internet and being online and not having that human contact. And like you said, having the things that happen when you are in person and building that empathy. And we're going to talk about your new album too. I want to make sure that
let's do that.
But no, that's fascinating to me. And I really love the fact that you were so involved with your son that you got to a point that you wanted to go back to school and actually learn even more about it, not only to help him, but just to have a better understanding of things in general when it comes to the multiple intelligences and everything else. And I worked as a special education teacher way back when. So
you know all about this then.
I did at one point, but I definitely probably have more understanding maybe than the average interviewer that you're going to come across during these music interviews. But maybe we'll get a chance to talk another time about more of these issues deep down. But let's talk about Radio On with an exclamation point, which I'm kind of curious about. Was that on purpose or just kind of whose idea was that?
Well, we were looking for an album title, and actually, the person who suggested that title to me was my old jazz keyboardist that I worked with for many, many years. We were hoping to have a song title that could translate to an album title, which is always convenient, right? And but I actually hadn't decided on calling the song Radio On, because the chorus actually goes, "If you gotta go, baby, don't go alone. I want to die with the radio on." So it's a little bit about missing those days of AOR radio but also about mortality and the fact that music is eternal. Music lives on forever. And my girlfriend suggested, she's like, why don't you just call it Radio On? That's a great title. I went, yeah, that is a great title. But Radio On just looked a little boring, so we added the exclamation mark because it's an exciting radio. It's exciting to turn the radio on, right?
Yeah, that's true. And, like we were just talking about earlier, that when I was looking at the cover art, there's going to be some people that, depending on their age, based on what I saw, you can see the speaker and you can see the radio and there's an antenna, but then it also looks like there's buttons on top of it. So that's probably like a cassette player. And yeah, so they'll be like, so where's the Bluetooth and how does this work?
Well, I didn't actually own that radio. I had to go on a hunt for it on the internet, which was a little bit challenging because people want a lot of money for old ghetto blasters, believe it or not. But I found that, I sourced that one, I found it, I bought it, and then I covered it with stickers of all my sort of teenage bands that influenced me, myself. And then and then we planned the photo. I wanted a picture of myself with an old ghetto blaster for the sort of retro vibe of the covers. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. And I think it's great that the album's coming out this summer because to me, when I think about like AOR and, big summer it's a summertime record. And when I listen to the tracks, there's some things in there that definitely have a lot of depth to them, but there's also songs that's just like, it's made to be cranked up.
Yeah, like Come On, or Soul Breaker. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the songs that I really liked was Come On. And I also want to ask you about 21. I think that song to me was a real standout on the album. But let's start with Come On. How did that song come to be?
Well, my bass player, Dave, had come in with this bass riff and this line. He was singing it. It all comes down to you. And I'm like, okay, I like the idea, but what can we do with this? So we worked it up as a band. The album was written very collectively in a couple-day writing session with my band. So we worked up that idea, and the idea popped into my head. I'm like, what could be more relatable? Of course, love is a universal theme, but obviously these days I'm trying to write more mature love songs because I'm not 20 anymore. And what is a mature love song? Well, a mature love song is being burned in love and having a second opportunity to go forward with love and kind of having cold feet and wondering if it's going to be okay to make that first move and just being nervous about entering into a relationship again. And so that's what the song Come On is about, that tenuous feeling when you're kind of like, should I let this person know that I like them? Should I back off? Are they giving me, am I reading these signals right? Am I not? And I think that's a very relatable experience for anybody. And then we sort of wrapped it all up into a hard pop rock song, and it's got, a really great energy about it. And we wanted to sort of have it be one of those songs that you just want to crank up in your car and drive with the top down in the summer.
Well, mission accomplished. Because it's one of those songs for sure. For me as a listener, it's like, yeah, that's the kind of thing that makes you feel good too. It's just like, grab your friends, grab a beer, and head on the road kind of a song.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad that translates. That's exactly was the modus operandi behind that tune.
Yeah, it actually comes across very well. And like I mentioned, I love that the album closes with 21. So what's the story behind that particular song?
That song is, I wrote it on piano, and it evolved obviously with the band a bit, but I wrote the basically the skeleton of that song on piano, the chords and the melody and the lyric content. And I was just feeling really nostalgic the day that I sat down to write the tune. I was going, I was looking at pictures of my kids going like, holy man, like you were like 2 and like now you're 14. When did that happen? Like, it's sort of like that feeling like time is kind of really going fast. But when I look back at my career and things that I did in my, I always feel sort of like 21 in my head. I think we all do. It's not that hard for me to just go and access those feelings that I had at that age and stage of my life, and to tap into that. It's very, very easy for me. So, yeah, it's sort of a song about the fact that, I don't know, it embraces a lot of themes. It's nostalgia, it's still feeling young at heart and in spirit, and it's recognizing that your spirit has lived through the fire, and we're still here, and we've come out the other end, and we're all survivors. You know, we're all prodigal sisters and prodigal sons. That's one of the lines, you know, that we've all made our mistakes, but we've survived. And in my mind, I'm still 21. You know, it's a very nostalgic tune, and I hope that comes across in the melodic, the way the melody flows, and the way the lyrics go. So,
well, that's beautiful, because I think that's probably one of the reasons why why it resonated so much with me, because, like you said, I can tap into when I was 18, when I was 21, and it's interesting to me that now I'm 51 and I can still remember what it was like exactly when I was in high school, college, outside of college. And I'm obviously been a music fan all my life. That's never going to change, and it hasn't changed. And here I am talking to one of my favorite artists right now virtually. So it's like, this is awesome. And sometimes I'm one of those people, I do reflect a lot on things and all the good things that have happened. So getting a chance to, I think it's like almost the perfect way to close the album. That it makes you want to go back and do it all over again in terms of all the songs.
Thanks. Well, yeah, you know, and I look at, like, memories and reflection are gifts, right? We, you know, that we can always go back and access, right? And you have to look at the good times and the bad times as things that have shaped us as humans. And again, everything is a gift, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I never, at least now, as I'm gotten older, I never take it for granted either. As you said, I mean, everything kind of happens for a reason, and it helps shape who I am now.
Absolutely. Here we are talking.
Yeah. And I'm curious too, with Radio On being kind of geared towards, you know, the big summer rock kind of sound on some of the tracks. Was there intention between the song order of like what you're going to start it with Vampin' and ending it with 21? Kind of like how you used to do back with records where you had the first, you know, 5 on the side and the other 5 on the other side, kind of a thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I got to work with Mike Fraser on the mixes, which was amazing. You know, Mike just did the AC/DC album, which has done really well. Brilliant engineer and mixer. And I was so lucky to mix with him. But yeah, by the time we got to the end of the songs and we were working when you go into the mastering process, because I produce and I do all that stuff myself. It's not, the record company doesn't decide my song order. I make my own albums. I have 100% creative control, which is wonderful. I hire the mastering engineer. I pay the mastering engineer. And then I hand the label a finished product, which is a beautiful thing about the way I'm able to make music these days. But yeah, so yes, it was very intentional. Sean Kelly, unfortunately, was stuck in Toronto because of COVID, but Dave and I were in the studio the entire time during mixes, and he and I sat down and hammered out a song selection. A song order, a running order for the album that we knew would work on vinyl as well. And then, of course, we pass along that order to Mayor Applebaum in LA, who was our mastering engineer, and he puts it all together for us. So yeah, we definitely thought. But you know, we don't get me wrong. But Sean Kelly was involved, and John, my husband, as well. We bounced the running order off them to make sure that it was going to work for everybody, right? And, you know, sometimes for me, when I'm doing a song order, I'm thinking of tempo, the overall sort of theme of the song, and the keys of the tune as well. You want the end of one song to flow really well into the next one. And, you know, often if they're in the same key, that doesn't work. But sometimes it does. So, yeah.
Well, I love the fact that you have 100% creative control and intention behind what you're putting out these days. And as I know, we're kind of running out of time. What do you have coming up for the album? Is there going to be a video release, any kind of live streaming things? What do we have to look forward to?
Well, right now, in the next month or so, you're going to see some little commercials that come out that have snippets of the material of the songs. So people get little songs. You've obviously been sent an advance media link, so you got to listen to the whole record, but fans are going to start hearing little bits of the album. The first single is coming at the end of May on Spotify. I believe May my 21st. I don't actually have the Spotify schedule in front of me. So the end of May, Come On is hitting the airwaves on Spotify. The beginning of June, 21 is going to follow, and then the end of June, Vampin is the third single, and then the album hits in July. So that is coming. And yes, we've already completed one video, and we're working on a video right now for Come On as well. So there's going to be videos. There's going to be at least 3 videos. And right now, all my performances have been unfortunately pushed back into 2022. But yeah, we are planning some stuff. A live stream thing would be great. But again, that's something that's kind of in the works for possibly the fall. And yeah, there's stuff coming.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming, and I love the fact that Come On and 21 are in that mix. So I had no idea. They just are songs that jumped out to me personally. So I guess I had my finger on the right pulse of what should be singles or something. But Lee, thank you so much for taking the time this morning, and I wish you every success with the new album. And if there's ever time down the road that we can reconnect and do a part 2, I'll be more than happy to do so. But I know you've got other interviews to do today. But again, thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, Mark, just if you want to do a part 2, because a couple people have asked me that because Nathan has booked these so close together, just reach out to Nathan. When the album comes out in July, I'd love to do something else with you.
I will certainly do that then, and we'll connect and talk about the album and everything else in detail, especially at that point, because it'll be a few months down the road. So,
and we'll have new videos and stuff for you. So,
absolutely, sounds like a plan. Stay safe up there, you and your family. And again, I wish you every success with the album.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. It's been a great interview. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.